You are watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I am your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking about why both of the first two picks in the 2025 NFL Draft for the Cincinnati Bengals have yet to sign their contract. Obviously, we've spent a lot of time talking about Shemar Stewart, his issue. We're going to continue talking about that on today's show as well, but we really haven't discussed what's going on with the second-round pick, Demetrius Knight Jr., and why he has yet to sign his contract. So that's all coming up on today's show. Also, in the back end of today's show, we're going to be talking about expectations. That will be probably half the video there as well. Realistic year one expectations for both of those players. But before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that sub button if you haven't done so already. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV. As you can see, we are rapidly approaching 19,500 subscribers as well as 20,000 subscribers. That will be a pretty significant milestone here at the channel. But we have an opportunity here to perhaps hit 19.5K on this video itself. Need 77 of you guys that are not currently subbed to hit that sub button and help us out. July, obviously, a very slow time of the year for the NFL, but we'll still have videos and content for you guys coming your way. Don't miss out. Hit that sub button for me right now, youtube.com/BengalsTV. So as I said at the top, Shemar Stewart and Demetrius Knight remain unsigned, and training camp here is approaching, right? Less than 2 weeks away by the time rookies have to report. Rookies need to report on Saturday, July 19th. Obviously, that is very significant because when you're talking about rookies, they have to be signed in order to participate in training camp, right? You saw Demetrius Knight Jr., of course, participate in the OTAs and the mandatory off-season stuff. Shemar Stewart, of course, did not, but you're allowed to have the injury waiver for that and still go out and practice on the football field. Same cannot be said for training camp. If you are not signed, you are not going to be out there practicing. But I do want to make note, as it pertains to Demetrius Knight Jr., his situation is completely different than the situation of Shemar Stewart. In fact, it's not just Demetrius Knight that is having an issue as far as a second-round pick that is yet to be signed. It's everybody else that was a second-round pick apart from two players. This is what Adam Schefter put out about a week or so ago, a little bit more than a week ago, on June 27th, saying heading into the weekend in less than a month from training camp, only two of the NFL's 32 second-round draft picks have signed. Deals are stalled over whether or not contracts will be fully guaranteed. The only two 2025 second-round picks now signed are Cleveland's Carson Swessinger and Houston's Jaden Higgins. And obviously, as Schefter points out, the big issue here is guaranteed money. That's kind of what's going on with all of these second-round picks. By the way, since that tweet was put out and now, none of these guys have yet to sign either, besides those two that is mentioned in the tweet. But it's a guaranteed money issue when you're talking about Demetrius Knight Jr. These second-round picks, they want their contracts to be fully guaranteed. And you saw Houston kind of broke that barrier with Jaden Higgins, and then Cleveland kind of had to follow up and say, well, shoot, Swessinger was drafted before Jaden Higgins. We kind of have to do the same thing here with his contract. A lot of times you see for these rookies that are drafted in the second round, it's kind of the first two are guaranteed, and then the second two you kind of move off that. Well, it's looking a little bit different here as far as things go as we continue to progress here. They're trying to turn over a new leaf with what happens with these second-round picks. The agents are really gearing down on this, and they want their guys to have fully guaranteed contracts as second-round picks. I think at some point that's going to become more of a norm. But there will eventually be a chain reaction where Seattle's Nick Amon-Wari, he will sign, and then you'll see everybody else sign as well. As far as Demetrius Knight Jr. goes, I'm not concerned. At some point it is going to be figured out, and he will be out there come training camp. But it's disputes with guaranteed money, and obviously very interesting that this is kind of the way things are going right now for second-round picks. We'll see if ultimately one day these all become guaranteed, similar to what you have in the first round. I'm definitely more concerned about Shemar Stewart than I am with Demetrius Knight. We've talked about Shemar Stewart's deal, right? He obviously is sitting there wanting the language to be a little bit different in his contract because the Bengals, of course, are trying to set a new precedent saying that they want to have the ability to void guarantees if he defaults his contract. And the Bengals, as we've mentioned, are not. This isn't some crazy thing Cincinnati is doing. It's new for them, but lots of other teams around the league are doing this. And as I mentioned, Demetrius Knight, he will be worked out, and we will see him at training camp. Shemar Stewart, this is one of the more fascinating situations we've ever seen in the NFL with a rookie first-round pick. At this point, it's honestly a toss-up, and I really don't have a good guess on how this is going to transpire for Stewart and the Cincinnati Bengals. Pin comment time here on today's show. What's your concern level with the Bengals rookie contract situations? Let me know in the comment section. Scale it for us. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. So that's kind of how we got here, right? I think it's been well documented with Shemar Stewart, the dispute with the language in his contract that he's not happy with. He was mad about it with the injury waiver as well, and he said, you know what, if they're not going to fix the contract, I'm not going to sign the injury waiver in practice either. And then Demetrius Knight, obviously the guaranteed money, but it's an issue with all of the second-round picks. Second half of today's show, as promised, is kind of the expectations for these two picks in year one. Let's start with the first-round guy, Shemar Stewart, right? Obviously, the Bengals took a swing on Shemar Stewart, getting him number 17 overall, and it was a risky pick beyond any of this contract stuff, and now you're sitting here with the contract stuff saying, oh, this really could get ugly. So I think the best-case scenario is he shows you at some point in this year that he can become your future lead pass rusher, right? Not necessarily right away. There's going to be growing pains, right? And there's going to be growth that is required throughout his rookie season and probably his second season as well. But best case scenario, he shows you flashes that he can be the guy that Trey Hendrickson is right now for this football team. Worst case, this is a pretty wide margin here as far as the variance goes between best case and worst case. He could become the worst pick of all time. He literally could. And I wouldn't have said that if he didn't have this contract stuff, but there is technically a possibility where he could sit out the entirety of the year and re-enter the draft, in which case that would be the worst pick of all time for the Cincinnati Bengals. I am not predicting that to happen. I would be shocked if it did happen, but it is, I guess, a possibility, and that's why we're pointing out here on today's show. But even if he goes out there, remember, this is a risky pick when you're talking about Shemar Stewart, right? We know this. We've talked about this on the show. Only 4.5 sacks throughout his time in college. And I think there is a pretty wide margin of, hey, this could be really good, this could be really bad. And we'll get to Demetrius Knight in a second. But I anticipate Shemar Stewart starting really slow. That's kind of just the reality of the situation, right? I think based on what he's had to do here, not participating in off-season workouts, and the fact that he's already a raw prospect, I mean, it seems just kind of obvious that he's not going to start out fast. He's not going to be able to contribute at a high level early on. That's kind of what my gut tells me. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully he can go out there week one and get a sack or two. That would be great. But at this point, that's not what I foresee happening. We'll continue with our show here in a second, but do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Fanatics. Let you guys know that these Bengals Hoodie T-Shirts are on sale. They are out now. You can go get them. I get it. It's very, very hot here in Cincinnati right now, but that's why they're short sleeve, right? It's very thin material. It's great stuff from Fanatics. Has the hood, so maybe if you pop out of training camp, you need it just to shield the sun a little bit, you can do that, but they're really cool, and most importantly, they are on sale. I believe $15 off from what they were originally listed at. Don't miss out. Go over to Fanatics. Check those out. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's show. Let's talk expectations for the second-round pick, Demetrius Knight Jr. As time continues to go on, I get more and more excited about this pick. I think on draft night, or the night you took him in round 2, you kind of were sitting there saying, okay. But as time goes on, this pick has really grown on me the most out of anyone, and I think he's going to be a really good player. Best case scenario, he starts for you and he plays well. Right, he's out there next to Logan Wilson, starting on your football team in year one, and does a tremendous job. Worst case, he's just not reliable enough yet, and that leads to less playing time. Right, you had other guys that you brought in at the linebacker spot, Barrett Carter, who was drafted behind him. Then you got Oren Burks, of course, coming in free agency as well. He's going to get an opportunity to play, but if you see him get less and less playing time as time goes on, that shows you that he is just not ready yet. I don't think it's nothing like the variance that we were talking about with Shemar Stewart, right? I think the gap here is a lot more smaller, and he's going to be a quality football player for you at some point, and he's going to be able to produce as long as, of course, he doesn't get hurt. But I think best case scenario, and that's kind of the scenario that I'm thinking, is that he starts and plays really, really well. We'll get to more of that here in a second, but will Demetrius Knight Jr. start in week one? Do you think he's going to be out there next to Logan Wilson? Let me know. Type Y for yes or N for no. I think he will be. I think Logan Wilson, the way this team has kind of revamped the linebacker room with Jermaine Pratt's departure, they're saying that, hey, Logan Wilson, we trust you a lot. We're building around you. That's what they're doing here. And I think Demetrius Knight Jr. is going to be a guy that's going to be out there next to him, ready to go week one and ready to make plays. Mind you, this is a real cerebral football player, right? He's played a ton of football through his various stops, obviously finished his collegiate career at South Carolina. This guy's a mature guy. He has a family, right? He has a kid. He's been around. He's been playing for a really long time, and Al Golden absolutely loves what he can bring to the table. He can drop back in coverage. He can do some good things there, right? He can also get out in a situation where he is rushing the quarterback from that linebacker spot. He's also really good against the run, and he's a really tough guy, and I think ultimately that's what you need from your linebacker. And he's a great leader as well, and I think alongside Logan Wilson. He's really going to have a big leadership role here in year one for Al Golden's defense, and I'm tremendously excited about it. Demetrius Knight Jr., I think, has a really, really high ceiling, and I think Bengals fans are going to be pleasantly surprised with what he can do in year one under Al Golden. Make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. If you haven't done so already, we are over 600 followers there on my Twitter page. I appreciate you all for that. But anytime there's Cincinnati Bengals news, you will find it on my Twitter. Give me a follow right now.